Hello, everybody. I am back again. I noticed yesterday in our replay that my mic was really glitchy, and then I realized there's something you have to plug in on the side of the computer to make the microphone work, and I didn't have that plugged in all the way. So I decided I wanted to rerun our how to operate with a CEO mindset for those of you who just could not tolerate hanging through all of that. I don't know how any of you did it because it made me mental in the first 5 seconds. So let me just check and make sure that I can see and hear myself, and we'll go. There we go. I see myself there. Awesome. Let me just make sure I see myself over here and hear myself. I see we have people popping in. So if you are popping in to join me live, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're here. If you're watching in replay, definitely let me know you're watching in replay as well. And if you hear anything today that resonates with you, give me a little hashtag gold. It helps me know. Hello, Missouri, how are you? It helps me to know that I am teaching you something that maybe you hadn't heard before, maybe you hadn't heard it quite that way before, just helps me get better at helping you. So for those of you who are new to me, I'm Lori Fisher with Rethink Home Interiors. I've been building a real estate staging business in the suburbs of Philadelphia for the last 9 years, and I am sharing tips and strategies that I've learned along the way so that I can help other stagers just be successful and grow. I wish that I had had resources like this when I was going through my very painful business growth process. So I'm just here to pay it forward and send some love out into the staging world. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about stepping into the CEO mindset. But before I do that, I first of all just want to say that, hold on, I've got something in my way here. All right, there we go. I just want to say that I think a lot of the stuff that's out there about stepping into your CEO mindset is all about kind of the inner game of becoming a CEO and the personal growth work that it takes to get there. And that is incredibly important. It is so valuable. That's not what I'm going to teach here today, though, because one of the things that I've learned, for those of you who may be new to me, I have a science background. Actually, I was a pre-med major. So I'm very analytical, and I want steps and I want processes. And while mindset and personal growth is incredibly valuable, it's not very helpful if you don't have some other steps, kind of anticipatory guidance for what's ahead of you, where you could be growing. And what you can look forward to, right? So that's what I want to share with you today is some practical, actionable things that you can bring into your own business to begin to step into your like inner, queen. I call it Queen Bee, Queen Beyonce. Get into your Queen Beyonce role within your business. Okay. So by the end of today, you're going to have one new tool to begin to understand where you should be really focusing your efforts over time as you grow your business, and where are the things that you can kind of delegate out. I shared the story of working or going to a business symposium and hearing somebody say they look for opportunities within their business where they are no longer needed. So for me, it would be a Lori no longer needed kind of list. Well, I want you to create that for yourselves, or kind of where you eventually don't want to be needed list. So I'm going to give you one tool for that today, and then 3 kind of unexpected habits that you can begin to cultivate today, because it's really habits that are the foundation of momentum in your business. So if you can begin to create some habits, and I'll share with you the exact habits that I want you to start creating now or working toward creating to grow your business and grow into your role as your CEO. So again, if you're watching live, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up. I see some people are starting to pop in. That's wonderful. You are the joy in a rainy day. So give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, and give me a hashtag gold if you find something new today. So first, before we dive into these strategies that I want to share with you, I want to just talk about the roles that you can find within growing a business and the steps that you're going to go through. We all go through it. This is taken from the E-Myth Revisited book by Michael Gerber. If you have not read that book, it is awesome. I highly, highly recommend it because it'll really help you understand what phases of business you're in. So he talks about 3 primary roles within a business. There's the technician, there's the manager, and then there's the entrepreneur/CEO. go. So for most of us, we start our businesses in the role of technician. And when we think about our businesses, when we think about becoming a stager, we think about being the stager, right? Working with the clients, shopping for the items, adding to our inventory, installing gorgeous things in people's homes. So we think about being the technician. But the technician is really the lowest level in any organization when you think about it. That said, it's an incredibly important role for you to go through and to grow through, because it is in being the technician that you find who you like to work with, how you like to operate, how you do things, how you don't do things, how you maybe think about a property, and you begin to refine your process and system. So you can't do that necessarily if you're skipping over that stage of being the technician, right? So that is an incredibly important step. However, it's not a step that a role that you want to stay in long term. And within staging, to be honest with you, our time gets leveraged very quickly. So you're very likely going to need to bring on another technician for yourself at some point to either help you so that you can grow your business, or to actually become the new technician in your business before you step into the role of manager. Manager is when you start to bring on team and people. So whether that is bringing on someone for bookkeeping or website work or social media or an assistant stager or an administrative support, that's the next spot that you go to, where you begin to grow a team, you begin to develop a team. Not everybody likes to be here, by the way, and that's okay. You can hire people to help you with this over time. I have found that in hiring people, because of the process we have in place, it's really a wonderful experience. I have a great team in my business, and I feel very fortunate, but it's mainly because of having hired poorly at certain points, which we're going to go into actually in next week's training, is about hiring. So anyway, that's the manager. That's the middle phase. And then you grow into the CEO in your business. And that's really the visionary. That's thinking about where you want your company to be next year, 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out. And in order to get there, you actually need some space and you need some creative time in your business where you are not always kind of the bottleneck of your business. So for most of us, we're going to all be kind of in the role of technician, possibly manager, and part-timing the CEO role. I'm still there myself. I'm still the technician at times in my business. I have a team that does a lot of the work, but there are times that I step in for special clients that maybe only still want to work with me, or when we have people on vacation. So I'm not totally out of this either. So I am still on that path to becoming fully a CEO in my business, just full disclosure, right? So there's no shame in being where you are right now. I just want you to know that those are kind of the hierarchy within a business. So now that we know that, now that we've got that foundation, how do you begin to take that path from being the technician and being the person, frankly, that wears every role and hat in your business to growing into the CEO role? So the first thing is starting with what my business coach called the Unique Brilliance Exercise. And we go through the Unique Brilliance Exercise in my Staging Business Bootcamp, and I've got the link in the comments or the caption above if you want to get on the wait list for the boot camp when it opens up for enrollment next. We go into this exercise a little bit deeper, kind of how to even refine it further. But for those of you who are here today, I want to share with you what the Unique Brilliance Exercise is. So the Unique Brilliance Exercise is really honing in on your zones of kind of brilliance, zones of genius, zones of super competence. It's called all kinds of things. And then kind of identifying what can be your delegation zones over time. So in order to do this, if you've got a notebook with you, taking notes, I want you to make a grid like this, if you can see that. There you go. Where are we? There we go. Like that. So you're going to make a grid like that. And in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to write brilliance. Okay. And I know some people are like, brilliance, I don't feel comfortable owning it, but we're going to own it in this, this exercise. Brilliance. Okay. And then the next block over in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to put excellence. In the lower left-hand corner, you will put competence. In the lower right-hand corner, you will write incompetence. So across the top, you'll have brilliance and excellence, and across the bottom, you'll have competence and incompetence. What you will do next is you will write down for each of those areas the where you feel you fall. So for brilliance, you might put staging in there, right? That is an area of brilliance. You probably started a staging business because you're really good at staging stuff and accessorizing and decor, and maybe it's purchasing inventory. But you might have other areas of brilliance. You might be great at networking. You might be a super connector and really good at that. You might be great at speaking and should be, spending a lot of your marketing time doing speaking and developing your presentation skills and things like that, because that's an area of brilliance for you. It's an area that you feel super comfortable in. You get into flow when you're doing it, and you could do it all day without getting paid. It's just kind of one of those. For me, staging is one of those things. Like I get into flow, I forget to eat, I don't need to take a break, I love it, I enjoy it. So that would be an area of brilliance for me. But I also have learned to enjoy speaking and presenting over time. Not something that was probably in my brilliant zone several years ago, but now I feel like it's becoming more of that. So excellence zone is where you're really good. You enjoy it, but you probably couldn't do it all day without being paid for it. This is also what Michael Hyatt in his book Free to Focus calls the distraction zone. So for me, that's going into Canva, creating pretty images. I love it. That I probably could do all day without getting paid, but it's really more of a distraction from me doing things that will move my business forward. So you want to write down all of those things that maybe you're excellent at and that you find yourself gravitating to when you don't want to really do the hard work of maybe marketing your business, reaching out to people, that kind of thing. The lower left-hand corner is your competence zone. That is where you're okay at things. You can do them, you can manage them. If you have to, you prefer not to. And if you could get somebody to do it for you, you totally would do that. For me, a competence zone is probably things like data entry, following project management, something I can do, something I don't love to do, scheduling appointments, returning phone calls, that probably somebody else could handle for me. Those are all really not, those are my competence zone. And then we have incompetence zone, things that you're just terrible at and really somebody else should handle. So for me, an incompetence zone activity is bookkeeping. I've known that from the beginning. That was the first person that I hired into my business. I've had a bookkeeper since the very beginning, before I even made my first like $2. So that's what you want to map out for yourself, because that is going to show you all of the areas where you should begin to think when you start leveraging your time. And in this business, we really do. And I would say, if you are starting to bring in revenue of close to $30,000 a year, you're going to feel pretty dang busy and tired. So you can see you get leveraged pretty quickly in this business. So I think it's really important to do an exercise like this, even if you're just starting out, even if you're just a team of one right now, because it will show you, again, like I said, the first place that you'll want to delegate out. And for many people, and my second delegation point was I had bookkeeper, and then I had an administrative assistant, was my very first hire. So handling all of the things before I actually brought in an assistant to do the staging work. Some of that was an inner game thing for me. And we'll talk about that next week when we go into our training about hiring. So that's the first thing. That's the first exercise you can do right away, is the Unique Brilliance Exercise. The next thing I'm going to share with you are 3 habits that are really important for you to begin to develop over time in order to step closer into that CEO role and to begin to embody it. So the first thing is about creating rituals, routines, and patterns for yourself. Now, a lot of people talk about a morning routine, and I think a morning routine is an awesome thing to have. For those of us with small children, or maybe you're still working at a full-time job, a morning ritual might not be as easy and straightforward. The key is, though, to find a rhythm in your either your day or your week that gives you a pattern. Our brains are wired for patterns, predictability, and simplicity. So one of the things that I talk about in my trainings a lot is my Financial Friday. Financial Friday is an hour on Friday mornings where I have a specific series of tasks that I do to look at my numbers, make sure I'm categorizing miles that I've traveled as work versus personal. All of those little things, those happen on a Friday morning for me. And like I said, they're the same steps every week. I have a cup of coffee. I put on spa music in the background so that I make finances fun. That is an example of creating a ritual, and a routine, and a pattern in your business. And in a minute, I'll tell you how you can do it for your full week as well, which is super important. But I love this because James Clear, who wrote the book Atomic Habits, and again, if you don't have that book, phenomenal book, I definitely recommend it. He talks about the fact that a lot of times we think that motivation is what drives action, but it's actually the other way around. Action and taking small actionable steps actually leads to more motivation over time because you get a dopamine hit that you're getting things done. So if you can create ways for you to take simple action steps on a daily basis, a weekly basis, you will find that you become more motivated to do those things because what you're doing is you're creating habit. And habit is the foundation of consistency, and consistency is the foundation of growth in your business. So I'm going to say that again. Habits create your consistency, and consistency creates momentum and growth in your business. So habits are incredibly important to form. So again, how can you do this? Morning routine, simple one. So maybe your morning routine is as simple as you make the bed and then you grab a cup of coffee and you do a thought download. Maybe it's you get the kids ready for school, you get them off to school, and then you come back and you just do a thought download of everything that you need to have happen in your week. Or maybe it's working out, or it's meditation, or it's journaling. But whatever it is, you really want to make it something that is super easy for you to create a habit around that moves you forward. My morning practice that is always gets included is exercise. I do my thought download, and then I categorize the top 3 things that I want to get accomplished for the day. Those happen daily. They have to happen daily, or I will not. I will not get things done in my world. I'll be over on Canva making Canva images, right? So anyway, and actually, there's a wonderful commencement speech here in the United States, the University of Texas. You can Google it. A Navy SEAL commander talked about making your bed as one of the first things that they say in the military. The reason is you just check a box immediately. You're successful before you're even out the door. And for those of us stagers, I'm sure most of us are making our bed. So it's creating little moments like that can help you check a little box that will keep you moving forward. You can create patterns and routines in your week by time blocking. Now, time blocking is something that was a game changer in my business. Before I wanted to hire my first hire, I knew I needed to get clear about my systems and my processes in my business. But I didn't realize that the first thing she was going to have me do was map out my week. She asked me, the productivity coach that I worked with, Matt, asked me, what are my appointment times and days of the week? And I said, well, whenever the client wants me to be there. And she said, no, that is not at all how you run a business. She said, what if your ideal schedule would be, what days would you see clients, and what would be the time slots for those? So I came up with, at that time, I wanted to see clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I wanted to leave Monday and Friday kind of open for business activities. I could always slot somebody in as an emergency if I needed to in those slots, but I wanted to leave those with some white space. And I wanted my appointment times, if I were doing evals, I wanted those to start at 10 a.m. and go from 10 to 12, or 1 p.m., 1 to 3. And then if I needed an evening block, I could do a 5 to 7 block. So that's how I ended up creating the rhythm and routine to my week. It just saved me so much energetic brain power by having a consistent start time. Now, do occasionally people need an adjustment to that? Yes, absolutely. But for the most part, most of my clients, I would say 98 to 99% of them, will start their appointment at 10 or 1 or 5 in those slots. It's amazing. And I don't need to think, oh, is today's appointment starting at 9? Is it starting at 9:30? Is it starting at 11? It just simplifies your world. So start by just even time blocking that as to get yourself started. Then once you get that figured out, you can take this time blocking really to as detailed as you want. And those of us who are creatives, I know probably that's stressing us out a little bit, is thinking about putting constraints around our calendar, but actually what it ends up doing is it ends up freeing us because it does create a pattern for us. So I'll give you another example of this. Mondays is my marketing day, and every Monday morning I have a team meeting with our team to go through our numbers. We call it our scorecard, and then I go into my marketing activities. My marketing activities are all written out, kind of like my financial Fridays. What are the things that I will be doing? Who am I going to be reaching out to? What will I be creating in terms of content? Will I be creating the email for this training? Will I be creating the outline for this training? Am I creating social media posts? I don't have to think. I just sit down and I look at what I was had mapped out for myself and I just get it done. It helps you get so much more done. So, unique brilliance, figuring that out, creating rituals and patterns in your days, creating patterns and rituals in your week with time blocking. And then here's the final one, which is documenting your processes. So, for us who are creatives, and in the beginning of your business, you'll probably be doing things a little differently every time that you onboard a new client. It might take a little bit of time for you to get to a point where you're documenting your process, and that is okay because you're kind of in a sorting process for a little while in your business, kind of figuring out what works, what doesn't, experimenting with how best to onboard a client, how best to conduct a, what I call a styling evaluation. A lot of people call a staging consultation. But once you hit on something that works really well for you, you want to start documenting it. And I recommend documenting it in something like Asana, which is a project management software. It could be a Google document. I like Google as opposed to something like Microsoft Word or I forget what it's called in Apple. But you want something that's cloud based. That's the key to this because you want to be documenting all of the steps to each thing that you do with any supporting notes or documentation that you need for that in a space where you can ultimately share it with somebody else. So, as part of that productivity work that I did with that productivity coach, she had me take all of my systems and put them into Asana step by step by step in anticipation of the future administrative support that I was going to hire in my business. So I didn't have that person yet, but I had everything ready for them when they arrived. So when she arrived, my beautiful magical Catherine, in my business, and if she's watching, hey Kath, I had every step detailed for how do we onboard a client? How do we invoice a client? How do we take payment? All of that stuff, even down to if I wanted an email to be sent once, somebody booked an appointment that said, hey, yay, we're so excited that you're, for the appointment. I had the content of that email in the Asana task for her so that she didn't need to go looking outside of Asana for any documentation. It was all right there. So that is going to help you do a couple of things. It's going to help you make yourself reproducible, and it's also going to make you more scalable. One of the things that happens in staging, I think, a lot is we forget about this idea of scalability. Scalability is being able to grow your business as you become busier and to grow quickly and easily. What we do in staging, and I see this a lot, is people create services and even processes that are hard to scale. What do I mean by this? So I know that I have worked personally in my community and heard of other stagers who will bring in accessories for maybe photo day or ahead of photo day, style someone's house, and then come back and pick them up after the photos have been taken. Fine if you're a single person, but I would even suggest that's a lot of work, probably for a little return on investment that you probably aren't charging enough for. And then think about if you had to pay somebody to do that. Right now, your accessories, if you're doing that, are probably in some spare room in your house. They're probably in your garage, your basement, something like that. Eventually, if you expand that inventory, you may move into a small storage space. But either way, if you hire somebody else to help you, that person would have to come to the location of wherever your inventory is, pick it up, pack it so that nothing breaks in transit, load their car, unload it at the client, install it, and then when you are ready to retrieve it, go back, pick it up, pack it up, load it back up, and reshelve it. So that's a lot of steps in there. I don't recommend doing that. It would have to be, if you're going to be putting accessories into someone's occupied listing, and again, I don't recommend that, and I talk about that, why I don't recommend that in a lot of my trainings. But if you are doing that, it should be a substantial amount of inventory that you are charging a premium fee to do. So that's just one example. I even think shopping for clients, if you are recommending they get new throw pillows or art or accessories during a consultation, if they want to hire you to shop, I also think that is not a scalable process, because again, you're probably not charging enough for that. And if you were to hire somebody else, and send them out to do it, then you're paying somebody an hourly rate to do something like that. You're much better off providing somebody with a mood board or a Pinterest board or just a direction versus going out and actually doing the work of shopping, right? So, anyway, that's just an example of that. So, documenting your business. So, here are some things that you can think about. What do you do after someone books an appointment with you? What do you want to have happen for that client experience? How do you want to onboard them? How do you prepare for a consultation? How do you walk through a house for a consultation? Or how do you measure up a house? What are you looking for a vacant measure? If that's what your business is. How do you verbalize to a client what you want to have them do? What do you not use as words? I'm big on the words that we don't use at Rethink Home Interiors. What's your process to develop a quote for a vacant staging? What are the steps? What are the emails involved? What are the numbers that you need? All of that stuff. In general, how do you like things to be done? So look at things like your client onboarding, what do you do after someone settles? Do you send them testimonial requests? You can have a process for that. So just start thinking about that and documenting all of those steps so that when you are ready, when you begin to hit that stride, and maybe you're there now, you're already hitting that $30, $40, $50,000 mark in your business, and you really need help and you're just not sure what to do first. What to do first is to start making sure you've got some tight processes around what you do. Okay, so my goodness, I've been talking for a while. So those are some ways that you can begin to pop into your CEO mindset. Unique brilliance, map it out for yourself. Creating rituals and routines, start time blocking your week and getting really clear on what time blocks you want to have during those weeks, and documenting your processes. Next week, we'll be talking about hiring. Even if you are stressed and nervous and a control freak and you think you are the only one to do it, that's what we're going to be going into next week. So anyway, I want to thank you all for popping into this encore training. Sorry about the audio yesterday, but this will be a much cleaner copy, and we're going to upload this to YouTube, and pretty soon I'll be sharing with you details about all of that. We've got a nice library that we are starting to curate for you over there of all of these trainings, so that you can binge them all in one place. All right. So anyway, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm so happy that you're here. I'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have sunshine where I am. It's been raining for days, it feels like, here in the Philadelphia area. All right, guys, thanks so much for being a bright spot in my day. I will see you next week.